want to avoid air bubbles. And there's basically two ways to do that. There's one by hand, and there's one with a brayer roller. Now, when I'm mounting a plate, I see a lot of people that when they mount plates and they're sticking it on the cylinder, they simply rub their hand over the plate. Complete. And you sometimes hear it squeaking. And hear the hand squeaking on the plate. Right? Well, I roll my hand onto the surface of that cylinder. So, if this is the cylinder, and my plate is adhered here, oh, let me do this right. This is my cylinder, and I've just affixed my plate to that edge, and now I'm getting ready to adhere it to the cylinder. I roll from the center out. Excuse me, sir. This is my cylinder. I take my hand and I go. I'm working this way to force the air out in small increments across the width of that cylinder. And you become very adept at doing it in no time. So when I'm mounting a cylinder, I'm going. Rotate. And I do a very fine job of not allowing any air to remain. That's one way of doing it. That is variable. Another way to do it is with a brayer roller, which is simply here you have your roller. So the rubber roller, soft durometer, about that wide. And now, instead of doing what I did before with my hand, you're taking that brayer roller, you're rotating the cylinder, and you're going across the cylinder like that. The brayer roller, because it's a relatively soft durometer, conforms about the cylinder, and if you do it in short enough strips, you remove virtually all the air. But we're very interested in making sure that we avoid air bubbles. Now, avoiding plate lift. Mounting over the seam. I already explained that. And cutting a perfect seam, I went over that. Now, edge sealing. I am going to name a brand here, especially for wide web. If you look at flexo principles and practices, one of the things they show is the use of hot melt glue. You know, we had a lot of issues once in the envelope industry. Well, in an envelope plant I worked at, with plates flying off and all this stuff, we were trying to figure out how to stick that on there. Hot melt was one of the things that we tried, and we weren't excited about that. Maybe some of you are experiencing positive results, but we did not. So I acquired a product called sealant. And I do have a video on YouTube of me applying this onto the edge of a plate. And what happens is there's a blue one for photopolymer plates and a black one for rubber plates, which is now probably obsolete. The people are in the United States. You mount your plate, and right in this area, you deposit a bead, just like when you caulk a bathtub with silicone, and then you use your finger to make it so that you have that sealing material like that. Now that performs two functions. Number one, it has a mechanical holding down effect. It mechanically holds down the edge of the plates. And we're talking about avoiding plate lift. Number two, nature abhors a vacuum. So if that plate tries to lift, something is going to need to go in there. We can't just have a vacuum. And that seal actually prohibits any air to go in there, and we can create a vacuum. So that vacuum effect also has a hold down. And actually, there's a third thing, which is it's a barrier to solvent. And because one of the quickest thing that will make your plate lift if you have a good situation, but you get some solvent in the leading edge, it's going to migrate up between the plate and the tape, and you're going to have plate problems. So I haven't had a lot of success with that in narrow web, because most narrow web plates butt up together, making that a difficult proposition. And they do that largely because one is small. A lot of times there's elements all the way around it, but because there are bearer bars on the plate, so you folks here have the bearer bars on the plate, you want those bearer bars to butt up together, right? So you have a continuous support about it. So many narrow web plates come very close, or perhaps a quarter of an inch or something like that, or eighth of an inch apart. That makes seal edge very difficult to use. Another thing that's difficult that can happen is if you have that edge right there must be still in contact with the mounting tape surface when that through the drying of the seal edge, which can take up to 15 minutes. So if I don't think that that is going to stay down for the duration, I might not use it, because it actually makes things worse. If I put seal edge on there and it's not solid, which by the way, when it's solid, it's pliable like rubber. If it's not solid and that plate starts to lift, seal edge goes in there instead of air. Nature abhors a vacuum, so it fills it with seal edge. How do you like that? So there are certain circumstances when you can use seal edge and when you can't. When you can use it, I swear by it. I think it's a fantastic tool to avoid plate lift. And then I go one step further. There are paper tapes that you can find for holding it down. Some people use masking tape. Some people use Scotch tape, or the tape they happen to have around. I like foil tapes. 3M makes a foil tape that's 1 inch wide, aluminum tape, right? And that video that I tell you about plate mounting shows me using that. I put that aluminum tape on here, and it's very malleable. So I take my finger and I rub it into the corner, just as I did with the seal edge here. And sometimes I use it in combination with seal edge, or not. And the part that goes on top of the plate, I take the back of my nail and I rub it, and it becomes beautifully smooth on the top of that surface of the plate. And it's not going anywhere. It's the end. It's staying there until I lift it. That, if I have an opportunity to use that aluminum tape, that plate's not lifted. So if you find 3M, they have a guide and they have a brochure or something like that. I've seen the physical one. I don't recall if I've seen it on their website, and it's available in their brochure, so you might be able to find it. Okay, I highly recommend it, and I have no affiliation with Moss-Type. Moss-Type is the developer of seal edge, so it's Moss-Type. And for some of the old folks, Moss-Type was an early pioneer in flexo stuff.